Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very 37th episode of Cooldown Timer. I am your host, Neefu, and with me today, I am joined by Zingles Artman.
I like saying no, it lowers their enthusiasm.
And from the frozen wastelands of Alaska, Alfred Pennyworth.
What? No, this was my show. I was supposed to be on this show. Don't take me away. No. Hello, this is Alfred Pennyworth. I'll take the whole set.
You know what drives me nuts about our intro? You know what I hate about it?
What?
Is that it's basically like some stupid morning Zoo Crew TV or radio thing. And that angers me.
Welcome to Stevie's in the Morning. I'm your host, Stevie, and with me I have so-and-so and Bob, and we're going to give you all your morning crap and the blah. I don't listen to enough radio.
It's like super high, cheesy energy, and I'm just like, and then we just go like, it's like, rah, and then it's like, pew. So how's your week?
Let's all settle
It's
down
the most false advertising
for a nice
ever.
lie. I mean, we could try to do a whole episode like, hey, you know what I've been playing this week? Yeah, what have you been playing this week?
I don't have it in me. There's not enough coffee in the world.
Bring it downtown for a little bit of Majora's Mask.
Yeah, so Neefu and I have been playing Majora's Mask again, and it is so much fun.
Oh, that game is awesome.
It is awesome. I forgot how awesome it was. I haven't played it in years.
That's my childhood right there.
I think I played. I never owned the N64 version. My only experience with Majora's Mask was on the Nintendo Power Collector's disc that had Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and the first two games. And I didn't get very far in it, but so I don't know. I never really got into it, but I am super into it right now.
Yeah. Well, the new additions for the 3DS have made it a lot more playable.
Like camera controls.
Well, yeah, but I don't have the nub. But even
I got a 3DS for my birthday, so
yeah, he's got the new one with the little nub for controlling cameras and stuff. But even without it, it plays really, really nice. But like the freaking book and like being able to
the quest log basically.
Yeah, and being able to set reminders and alarms and like the new save points, and oh my gosh, it is so much easier. It's so much more playable. I'm not gonna say easier, it's just more playable.
Yeah, it's definitely more friendly.
Yeah, it's not. They fixed all the they fixed a lot of the clunkiness of the older game.
Yeah.
Which has done nothing but renew my enthusiasm in it. What? Say what?
Like, what was particularly clunky about the old game that they changed?
Well, for one, the saving.
Oh, the saving.
That was one thing that when I was a kid just was like, ugh. Because you had to go back in time to save. But you could also use those save points, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I worked at it. But like the way they explained it when I was young, it scared me. I was like, I don't want to use this owl statue because it sounds like I'm going to lose everything.
They've added a handful of just save point only points, like in the like at the front of the dungeons and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
man, Majora's Mask was a great game. I never beat it.
Okay.
Have you beat a Zelda game?
Yeah.
Sam and I were actually talking about this morning.
Yeah.
I was talking about this morning. Have you actually ever beat a Zelda game?
I might have beat Link to the Past.
That's the one I haven't that I've played.
I remember that's a
freaking
long game.
That's a great game. That's probably one of my fondest memories of Zelda. That's the one game that I got. I think that's the only game I've 100%ed ever. And I did it without the internet or guides.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
well, I guess you did have quite a bit of time to figure it out. Well,
and it was the only game I had for a long time.
I think I beat that one, but listen, I didn't beat Ocarina of Time because Ganon I beat Ganon, then he turned to Ganondorf, and then he killed me, and I just was like, forget it.
Wow, you got that
Wait,
close?
you did one try?
Yeah, after one try, I was like, oh, that was really hard. I don't want to do all that again.
Oh,
and I
man,
never picked it up again.
That final boss fight is great.
Unfortunately, that's basically what happened to me with A Link to the Past. I got to the final dungeon. Something about the final dungeon I couldn't finish. And this was like years ago, so I definitely want to try revisiting that one. But yeah, I got to the final dungeon, then just...
Let's see,
I guess when I got all the way to Ganon, I just lost and knew I'd have to play for like another half hour just to do all that over again. And knowing that there was no additional gameplay, to come, it made it easier for me to say, forget it. I know, I bet if I beat him, Zelda will say, like, you saved the world, and there'll be some moments of silence, and then some, like, glowy lights or something, and it'll be fine. Whatever.
Little did you know, the bits that you skipped would change the course of Hyrule history forever.
No,
splitting
that
it
timeline
into
is so
3
messed up.
timelines.
Oh,
Timeline is so messed up.
who
Anyway,
cares about the timelines?
but Majora's Mask, I got all the way to the end bit.
Okay.
Before you can fight Majora, you have to do these 4 sort of mini dungeons, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
They're really more like obstacle courses. And I did... I got stuck on the Goron one. And I
remember you telling me that. I remember you telling me about that.
That one was not a case of I tried it once and then no, I wanted to see that boss fight. I tried that. I worked on it for days. Could not get even halfway through it. It was this one spot where you have to just, I don't know, you gotta do it exactly right, I guess, and I could never do it exactly right. And after doing the exact same thing in the exact same spot and failing for like 3 days, I was just done. I was done.
Did you have the Fierce Deities mask?
No,
Well, you can't use that until the boss battle.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
you got to
but-
go through those 4 obstacle courses to get the Fierce Deity mask.
Okay, so you hadn't. Okay, I was just wondering if you had the stuff to get it or not. I'm very excited to see that mask.
Yeah, I had everything I needed to get it. I just had to beat those 4 obstacle courses.
Right. Well, one thing I love about Majora's Mask, it's just like, it's such a fun idea. It's like, it's just you have the 3 days to finish your goal, and you can just change time however you need, pretty much. And that's kind of a fun idea, and you don't see much like that.
The Song of Double Time now allows you to move to any point in that day.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to
including
just
the
12
beginning
hours.
of the next day.
Well, that's
so
nice.
you can
Well,
There's a lot of little things that make it a lot
then
more
the
fun.
Bomber's Notebook tracks each individual quest or quest line.
Well, that's convenient for sure.
Yeah. And
Well,
when
no,
you learn people's
actually,
schedules,
Majora
they show
has-
up in your book.
Majora's Mask has a very fond place in my memory because remember in the old days when you'd go to like Walmart or Target just to play video games
Yes.
because they had them set up. They still do that sometimes, but it's not the same.
Not the same.
I remember I was in Target or Walmart. I can't remember which. And there was Majora's Mask on an N64 for people to play. So I would grab it. And I played that game for what felt like an hour, and I didn't know what I was doing. So it would get to the 3rd day, and the moon would crash into the town, and I'd watch the town blow up, and then I'd be like, oh man, I failed. And then it'd send me back to the first day, and I'd be like, okay, I gotta find a way to stop that moon. And I'm still a Deku, alright? I'm still a Deku. I'm running around the town trying to find a way to stop the moon from crashing into it. And
Man.
every time it does, I feel like such a failure because I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing.
Ocarina of Time will always have a huge soft spot in my heart, but there's just something that I really love about Majora's Mask. And I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is, but I just feel like it's such a fun, like, there's so many fun ideas that they played with that you just don't see. Like, it doesn't follow any normal, like, like recipes for games or whatever. It's just like, it's its
For
own
Zelda,
thing.
anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't really think of a game that's done anything close to that, off the top of my head, anyway.
No.
I mean, it's really cool though, because like the town feels like a living place where there's all these people that do all these different things, and then you figure little pieces out, and you tie them together, and you figure all these different things out, and there's more and more depth to it the more and more you mess around in Clocktown.
Did you see the game theory about Majora's Mask?
About the 5 stages of grief?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was really interesting.
Yeah, because it made sense.
Yeah, well,
and makes sense as you're playing it, keeping it in mind.
Replaying it, that game's a lot darker than it looks on the surface.
It always
with
felt
or without
darker
that
to
theory.
me than Ocarina. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean,
I couldn't put my finger on it, but
it feels bleak, kind of.
Yeah, even though it's more brightly colored than Ocarina in many places, it still feels bleak. There's a sense of doom, what with the moon inevitably crashing in the Clocktown over and over and over again.
Yeah, well, and everyone knows it's happening, and and then all of the masks you get are of dead people. I mean,
or at least the transformation ones.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. The transformation masks are all dead people. The Deku
shrub
guy. Yeah, the Deku shrub in the very beginning. His dead body is right next to where you are when you get the mask. And then, Darmani, the guy who gives you the Goron mask, you talk to his ghost and you have to, heal him.
But, I don't know, you were mentioning a bit ago about having a really, really fond spot for Ocarina of Time. I have an extra special fond spot for Ocarina of Time. Because, if I remember correctly, that was, one of my very, very first gaming experiences ever. I was over at a neighbor's house and their kid had it. I was like, oh, cool, video games. And so, I played through the opening bits, not having any idea what I was doing. And then he lent me Link's Awakening. And I just screwed around on that for a super long time. Because I think by that point I had a Game Boy Pocket with only Dr. Mario, Star Wars, and maybe Pokemon Blue. Which, I mean, they were fine and dandy games, but it was Zelda that first really captured me.
You're going from a 2D side scroller platformy thing to a 3-dimensional explorable world game.
Yeah, going into Ocarina.
I think I played Pokemon Red before I played Legend of Zelda, but I'm pretty sure Ocarina of Time was my first real game experience besides maybe Pokemon.
I had to have been in 2nd or 3rd grade, so that's 7 or 8. Well, I mean, Ocarina of Time came out in 98, so I had to have been at least 7, so yeah, 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I don't know, what were your guys' first? Do you guys have that moment with video games as a kid where you're like, oh, this is interesting?
I remember, and it's probably still why Pokemon is still so dear to my heart. My very first experience with a game was with Pokemon, I'm pretty sure. And I was staying at my cousin's house for a while, and they actually got me into Pokemon cards and the game at kind of the same time. And he had Red, and he let me kind of mess around on it, and I just kind of fell in love with it, and then he gave me my very first Pokemon card, which was a Drowsy, which is a terrible card. I still remember my very first trade.
Actually, hold on. I think my first one was technically a Drowsy before the guy changed his mind in giving it to me and took it back and gave me a Weedle instead.
Yeah, that's because everyone's first cards are crappy cards that no one wants, like Drowsy and Weedle. But I still remember my very first trade because I had a Team Rocket Drowsy, and I traded it for a holographic Hypno, and then the kid got mad at me after he traded it to me. Because he was like, wait a minute, I want to go back on that trade. I'm like, dude, you already traded it to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Holographic is better. I know, that's why I traded it.
No, and I think the kid who gave me the drowsy and then took it back and then gave me the Weedle was I think that he was calling that the invitation to his birthday party or something. Did I ever tell you about that? I got uninvited to a birthday party once.
I think you mentioned it to me.
I was invited to a birthday party, and then I had been going through some rough braces stuff at the time or whatever, and so like my mouth had just not really adapted. So I either something with my braces caused me to spit on him accidentally, or one of my saliva glands just like fired at him while my mouth was open, and he started accusing me and saying I did it on purpose. And I'm a little, I wasn't that kind of a kid. I wasn't like a spit on people kind of kid. This was totally an accident. He uninvited me to his birthday party, and we never really were friends anymore after that. So,
That's funny.
Yeah. Mark, early video game experiences or first video game experiences? Or
I tried to
whatever.
think about the first video game I can physically remember playing, which is not exactly what you asked.
Yeah, no.
But just to see if I could, the earliest video game I remember playing was at a babysitter's house. And this is so long ago, I have no idea who this person was. But they had... I guess they had a Sega Genesis or something. What was Sonic the Hedgehog on?
Yeah, it was the Sega system.
Yeah. Well, I know she had that, but the first game I can remember playing is this really loud... It was like a Mickey Mouse game for the Sega Genesis. I remember the first level had a giant apple you had to run from. I don't know what was going on. But my main experience with video games was going over to friends' houses because we did not have games.
Yeah,
when
same
I was
here.
Like first, second, third, fourth, maybe just up to third grade. We had nothing for games, really.
Yeah.
And I was desperate. I was desperate to get some games in, and it got so bad, I actually got really emotional about it. I remember on this one car trip because I didn't have a Game Boy like my friends. I'm like, I just want to play. I want to play video games. And
man, just thinking about how far we've gone from when my first video game system was a Game Boy Pocket. Now I have a DS that lets you play things like Majora's Mask and Metal Gear Solid 3 in my hands. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was really late. Well,
Dr. Mario to Metal Gear Solid 3.
You guys both know this, but I was really late to the video game.
Oh, sorry. I totally cut off Mark, but I just had to say that. Continue,
no,
Mark.
You did, because I hadn't even gotten video games yet. At some point, we got a Game Boy, an original Game Boy. And this, mind you, is more than mid-90s by this point. This is late 90s. That thing was big, and I played Super Mario Land on it, and it seemed to me to be the best thing ever. I still have the first few levels of Super Mario Land basically memorized in my mind. I played them so many times. But then, things got so desperate, and I don't know, I guess my parents decided that I could have one, because I convinced them if I kept my room clean for 2 months straight, then I could get a PlayStation.
Ooh.
I thought about it. I wanted a PlayStation.
I don't remember you ever owning a PlayStation.
Well, here's the thing. I kept my room clean for 2 months straight. Though my parents think that I didn't really, but they were nice, which is probably the case.
Yeah. But your room was never clean.
I felt like I had done it. And apparently they had made a separate deal with my brother Steve about something to get a video game system. Maybe my little brother too. I don't know. He was really young at this point. But Steve came
they were
to me
working
and said,
you guys.
Steve came to me and said, "Listen, all right, let's not get a PlayStation." And I'm like, "What?" Like,
Good
listen,
move.
they'll
Good
get us any video game system. Let's ask for a computer. And I'm like, a computer? And I'm thinking, none of my friends play on computers. They play on N64s and PlayStations, because Xbox wasn't a thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
But
How
my
very
older brother,
Steve
being
of him.
an older brother, convinced me that the computer was the thing for me. And I'm glad he did, because that turned me into a PC gamer.
Yeah.
Which I still am. And we got a computer, we got a compact, something. And we were each allowed to pick one game. Me, my older brother, and my little brother pick one game that my parents would buy for us. I picked the coolest game I could find in Walmart, which was Carnivores 2, a game where you hunt dinosaurs. I don't know what piece of garbage my little brother picked. I can't remember. That's not even good. Because I can't remember it. Steve picked a little game called Homeworld, which was Game of the Year 1999, which actually tells me when this happened. It happened in 1999.
Or soon after, yeah.
I got bored of Carnivores after a while, but Homeworld was a gem, and it made me a huge fan of real-time strategy games, of space games, of just PC gaming in general. Homeworld was where it was at. And that's what really introduced me to gaming.
Man.
It's funny because, I mean, you know, our first kind of experiences really did kind of like mold what we loved. Because, I mean, you're still really into that kind of like RTS strategy stuff. And I can't get into it like anymore. Like, there was a point where I loved it. I remember playing the crap out of Age of Empires and stuff like that. But, like, I can't do it anymore.
Or that stupid little demo version of Age of Empires.
Yes, the demo version. Yes. Yep. And then, yeah, I don't know. I'm really into Pokemon still.
I mean, I would play, like, computer games occasionally, like, whatever we had. It was, honestly, I want to say it wasn't until I mean, I played a couple random computer games, but it wasn't until I bought Mark's computer, which he bought from Steve, that I really started getting into PC gaming.
I still have hand-me-down stuff from you guys.
My older brother Steve has seeded a lot of PC gaming and all of us.
Yep.
No, I gotta tell you, it's all my older brother's fault that I got into PC gaming and that I stayed in it, because after a couple years, he got his own rig that was better than a compact we bought at Walmart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And back in those days, it's different now, but back in those days, after about 2 years, you could not play new games on your old PC. That's how fast the tech was moving up. So I didn't want to play all these crummy old games on the compact. I wanted to play the cool games on Steve's computer, and he was a giant jerk and would only let me play if I did him favors, like making him sandwiches.
I could totally see Steve doing that.
I'm being a bit mean on him. He did let me just play sometimes, but you know, when he wanted to play, he'd kick me off.
Yeah, of course.
That was most of the time.
You paid good money for that computer.
So I said, one of these days, I'm gonna have money, and I'm gonna buy my own computer. and that's what I did. And man, building computers is kind of addictive.
No, dude, because then I bought the computer that you had from Steve, and I think it had everything but the hard drive, so I had to get a new hard drive for it. And then over the course of the next year or two, I basically replaced everything in it except my original hard drive.
I am still using a monitor that I got from you, Mark, that I think you got from Steve.
Does it have?
I really need a new monitor.
Is it a widescreen, aspect ratio, flat screen with a blue light at the bottom middle?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yep,
yeah. That used to be Steve's.
That's the one. Yep.
He bought that back when I was still lugging around a giant CRT that we got at a Boeing surplus store. That thing was
Oh my
huge.
gosh, Boeing surplus! That's where I got my very first computer.
This is a nostalgia tripping episode.
That computer had a hard drive with 4 gigabytes of storage.
Wow.
My current computer has 2.4 terabytes. No, I lie. My computer has 3, 4, 5 terabytes.
Nice. Mine has like almost a terabyte.
Holy crap.
I have very little space.
And you know, I remember when I was
Way
talking shop.
back in my day.
Yeah, when I was talking shop with my older brother about computer parts and stuff, because man, it's really fun to make your own computer, and I made several.
Before you moved to the laptop side.
Yeah.
There are definitely some benefits of a laptop that I
headless.
wish I could have.
But anyway, we were talking about hard drives, and I think we had like about a 300 gig hard drive, and that was good for the time. That was pretty good, real good. And we were talking how back in the old days, like 1 gig, nobody thought you would ever need a gig worth of space, you know? And then, you know, my older brother mentions terabytes, and I'm like, how big's a terabyte? And he's like, well, it's like 1,000 gigs about. And I'm like, wow, who would ever need 1,000 gigs? Like, how would you even fill that up?
Anybody who does video editing.
Yeah.
I have gigabytes.
Or uses Steam a lot. Good lord.
Yeah, jeez, holy crap.
I'm constantly deleting
I'm
games so I
curious how
can
my
install new
I think
ones.
I've got 2 Steam folders currently. My main Steam folder is 100 gigabytes, and my secondary Steam folder is 130 gigabytes.
Well, and like games are just getting so friggin' big. Like, what was it? Shadow of Mordor was like over 60 gigs.
No, I think that
ridiculous.
was ESO.
Back in my day, a big game was 4 gigabytes, and we said, whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I really jumped into PC gaming at a good time. 1999 was a good year. SimCity 3000 came out, Alpha Centauri came out, and the original Team Fortress came out. Counter-Strike. A lot of stuff was going on.
I was more into console gaming when I was a kid.
Well, when I was a kid, yeah, it was either console or handheld. I got a ton of games for my N60. Oh my gosh, I remember when I first got my N64. So I bought it for like $56 on eBay, and when I first got it, I mean, I got the system itself. It didn't have any games, and so until I got a game, I would just plug it into the TV and turn it on and look at the flickering. Like when you turn it, I was like, "Oh, it works! Yay! I'm gonna turn it off now. I'm gonna turn it back on. Oh, yay, it works!" And then my dad brought home some something he probably found in like a clearance or something, but it was like a Xena fighting game and a Hercules Legendary Journeys game. I played the crap out of those games because they were the only games
They were probably terrible.
Yeah, no, they totally were. But I mean, they were all I had.
See, I didn't even get a console till the Wii was out.
Really? Well, no. Well,
yeah,
what about the
I bought
GameCube? Because you got Alex.
No, you had lent me some stuff, but I bought his GameCube when he upgraded to a Wii.
Gotcha.
I mean, I had borrowed some stuff from you guys. Well, from you especially.
I still never got that power cord back for my PS2.
Yeah, I wasn't a good guy to go to for console stuff.
Yeah. And I
eventually
Mark,
got
you
a
lent
Nintendo
me
64.
You lent me some stuff too. I mean, you gave me your copy of Majora's Mask.
I bought the PS2
for a birthday.
$125. Man,
But
it's weird that I remember these numbers because they were very, very, they were very big moments for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, for me, console games was pretty much just when I was over at friend's house, you know.
Well, that's...
I remember playing Turok for the Nintendo 64 at one of my buddy's house. That's a very early gaming memory for me. I was probably like 7. I don't even remember how the game worked, really.
All I know is that one has dinosaurs, right?
Yeah, another game about hunting dinosaurs.
I remember being shown that one by somebody. One of you guys.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Had to have been one of the Hamilton boys.
I think it was that one. It was a monster hunting or a dinosaur hunting game, anyway.
Yeah, no, that was probably Carnivores 2 at my house.
Might have been.
So I eventually got the expansion pack for it, Ice Age, where you could hunt mammoths.
Fancy.
It was really just like a big game hunter sort of simulator, but with dinosaurs. And I mostly played Ice Age because the regular game was too scary, because Velociraptors and T-Rexes You'd just be walking along and suddenly be like, "What's that?" Thump, 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 thump. Oh, you just got eaten by a velociraptor.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of dinosaur games, I think it was my 13th birthday, I got this. I mean, that was a good birthday. My 13th birthday was a good birthday. I got this, or whatever.
Mine was too. I got a holographic Blastoise.
I got this game that was tied in with Jurassic Park 3. It was called Scan Command or whatever. And so there was this game that, I mean, you were on this spin-off island or whatever, and you were trekking through the island, and there were turn-based battles, and you could collect dinosaurs and battle your dinosaurs. But you powered up your dinosaurs with DNA that you got by scanning this little device, barcodes, UPC barcodes.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing commercials for those. There was another one. It wasn't that one, but there was another one where you could scan barcodes to collect monsters and then fight them.
No. It was Monster Rancher. Listen, I wanted
my
that one so bad. My cousin had that game. She came over to our house for a week, and she brought her PlayStation, and she had a Monster Rancher game. You could put CDs in the PlayStation reader, any CD you wanted, and it would unlock a different monster. So I was just going around the house being like, where can I find CDs? Mom, where's your music? Here's some Christmas music. Okay, let's see what's in the Christmas music. Monkey plant.
All I remember is that somehow I scanned something that gave me this super powerful piece of DNA, and whenever I upgraded to a new dinosaur, that piece of DNA always came with me. Because it was so powerful.
So this one, the one that I'm talking about, it was a separate thing, and it was its own handheld device that you played the game on. And I remember that when I saw the commercials for it, I was like, this is the coolest idea ever. It's like Pokemon, but you can capture them in the real world. And then I was just like, I want to scan diapers and see what monster it gives me. And I was just stuck on that idea for a really long time. What monster comes from diapers? I must know.
I gotta find some diapers.
Actually, okay,
here's the diapers.
If you guys don't mind me tweaking the conversation just a little bit, so you brought something up, Neefu. Can we talk about weird things in video games that just still exist that are super out of date? You mentioned turn-based battles.
Oh my gosh, I hate
Why do we still
combat.
freaking have turn-based battles? We had them at one point because we couldn't do anything else. I'll accept that. Why do we still have them?
Wait, Final Fantasy and stuff?
Well, actually, even Final Fantasy has moved away from turn-based battles.
That's true. Well, okay, and for another thing, and I don't know a whole lot of people who really agree with me on this, but health points are completely outdated, and I hate them in everything and anything they exist in. I hate them. It doesn't make any sense. When you get hit with a real weapon, you don't lose health points.
I don't think we're there
stupid.
yet with technology. We might be there, but it would take away a lot of processing power from other stuff in order to, fully, compute all the places of damage. Well, I guess you could simplify it a bit, but I don't know.
Yeah, it could be simplified.
There are some games that get it a lot closer, but they're not much fun if you get shot and then it's you're either dead or incapacitated.
Right. Well, but fun. Still, there are still ways of it really, and I can buy it in kind of silly cartoony games because you can buy anything in that. That's that's the magic of doing something with that kind of art style. But I was playing Max Payne, and the third one, and I could not finish it because whenever he gets hit, a bullet hole appears on him, and I'm like, "You're dead. You were dead hours ago. Why are you still walking?" And it just drove me mad. I was like, there is no way he can survive, a cluster of shots to the heart.
Are you sure? Because he's
and
totally
be walking
high
around
the
fine.
Entire game.
It doesn't
he
matter.
Is high on
shots to the heart and you're dead. Dude, you can get shot in the head and you're fine.
Have you seen a raging bear? He is a bear.
You don't rage for... Yeah, fine, but you don't rage for
when is he gonna die?
Exactly, you don't rage for 20 or 30 missions and then you're just fine.
If he didn't die in that last battle at the friggin' airport... Yeah, no, he was dead in that air. Did you get to the airport battle?
No, I quit because it got too ridiculous and I couldn't buy it.
That battle was the most insanely difficult on easy battle I have ever done. Oh my gosh, it was just wave after wave after wave of dudes stopping me from getting from one side of the airport to the other, and it's playing this super cool music, so it's trying to make you feel super cool. And during the first time I felt awesome, but by the 20th time I wanted to cry, but I was so close to finishing it.
Dude, and okay, so if they had just not put the bullet holes on him, it wouldn't have bothered me. Because I'm like, I can kind of, my mind will just forget about the fact that I'm getting hit and think of it more of almost getting hit or something like that. Yeah, exactly. And that'll
But exactly
mess
where
you
the
up a
bullet
little
went
bit.
in and went out.
Yeah, and you can see it, and it just kind of it broke it for me. And it's like, why do we have health points still? It doesn't make sense.
At least when you're full of arrows in Skyrim, you can say, well, I healed myself with magic.
That bugged me too. I healed
myself with magic.
I at one point I was like, I want a mod that because I experimented with friggin' every mod, and I was like, I want a mod that makes it where the arrows stay there for a realistic amount of time. And then the problem was that I looked like a pincushion, and I had to delete the mod because that's just silly. Especially when you get hit in the eye or something and the arrow sticking out of the back of your head and your guy's still you're walking around. And the role-playing game I've been playing recently, Fate, they do a really interesting thing with it where when you take damage, you're not really taking damage. It's basically damaging your it's basically stressing you out. You take stress where it's you barely managed to deflect that, or you barely managed to block that. If you're not careful, you're going to get hurt. And your character starts to, react more poorly the longer combat goes on because, you're taking damage, which isn't really taking damage. And it's really interesting. And it made me kind of think about that. We could totally do something like that in video games. And you could even make it look really badass. Yeah. Watch your character dodge that arrow. That was really close. It breaks immersion for me, and so do menus. Also, off subject, but how were your guys' Valentine's days?
I went. Well, oh right, hey, yeah. Mark, how was your Valentine's Day?
Well, my wife and I went out to dinner the night before because the night of all the good places are booked solid. And on the day itself, we
booked a month in advance.
Yeah, we bought chocolates, and I wrote her a nice little love card thing. Made it myself. Drew a heart on the front. Very romantic. How was yours, Neefu?
We had a tea party.
Yeah, we had a tea party.
You guys had a tea party.
We really did. It was kind of an accident, and then it just kind of happened.
Because I was there on Friday for my birthday stuff, and because I don't have a place to host a birthday festivity, so I hosted my birthday festivity at Zam's house, and I just spent the night there. And then Zam's wife was working, and my fiance's on the other side of the state, and so we kind of just played our DSs and drank tea
and watched stupid YouTube and had a good time. And then I went to the nicest dinner I've ever been to and had a $45 steak.
Not with me.
Wow. Where'd you go?
Dude, they I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they had scotch on the dessert menu. Which just made my day.
I think I went I think at that point I went and after I left you, I went and watched the Grand Budapest Hotel with my mom. And then I went home.
Basically, we had $150 in gift certificates to there, and we used them all and a little of our own money.
On one meal. Yikes.
On one meal.
Well, on that luxurious note, we have come to the end of episode 37 of Cooldown Timer. if you would like to. So I realized that our on iTunes our back episodes aren't showing up beyond 10 before we stopped. So if you want to find our back episode or episodes, not issues, ignore the first like 11 or so, but you can find the rest on cooldownttimer.com. Yay. If you want to message us, you can do so at contactus@cooldownttimer.com or go to our Facebook page. You can also answer the question of the week there. And Zam, what is the question of the week?
Question of the week is, what was your very first and most nostalgic video game experience?
Yeah, sounds good. I don't know. Cool down time. Talk to y'all next week.
Wingapo.